Good day, listeners. Welcome to the world of Chandamama. Today, we will be listening to an old Egyptian folklore. An English fairy tale that many of us know has an uncanny resemblance to this folklore. Let's see which one it is. Stories from Other Lands. Egypt. A bride for the Pharaoh. The events that took place in the story happened more than 2000 years ago during the reign of Pharaoh Amasis in the great country of Egypt. Many versions of this story are now told in different parts of the world. At the time of the story, Naucratis was a prosperous trading town at the mouth of the Nile. Many Greek traders had made their home there. Once such trader was called Charox. He traded for many years with Egypt, and when he had made a lot of money, he decided to settle down at Naucratis. Those days, many people were bought and sold as slaves by rich people who could afford them. Charox could afford many slaves. At a slave market, he once saw a beautiful little girl whose master was keen to sell her to the highest bidder. Charox felt strangely moved by the girl and bought her. He took her home not to be made a slave, but as the daughter he did not have. Charox grew to love the girl who was called Rhodophis and looked after her very well. She had pretty clothes to wear and jewels brought in from all over the world. He built a lovely house for her to live in and filled it with all the luxuries then known to man. This house had a secluded garden filled with all kinds of fruit trees and sweet smelling plants. There was a marble lined pool in the garden where Rhodophis could cool off on a summer's day. He also gave her a very pretty pair of rose red slippers for her small delicate feet. They were exquisitely made, and of all the things Charox gave her, Rhodophis loved that pair of slippers the best. Rhodophis also loved the old man who was so kind to her. She talked with him and sang for him and told him tales of her life before she came to his house. At the previous owner's place, a rather ugly man called Aesop had been very kind to her and told her many wonderful tales of animals and birds. Rhodophis entertained Charox with those stories and thus passed many pleasant hours. One day, something happened that was to change the calm flow of their lives. Rhodophis went to the river with her companions. There, they decided to take a swim in the cool blue waters of the Nile. Rhodophis also took off her favorite rose red slippers and left them near the clothes, where they glowed as though they were made of rubies. As the girls were frolicking in the water, an eagle swooped down and took away one of the rose red slippers. The girls could not do anything from the water, and Rhodophis was inconsolable. She wept and cried that she would not be able to wear those lovely slippers again. Besides, she was very sad to lose something that Charox had given her. The eagle, in the meantime, seemed to have a purpose in stealing that slipper. Maybe it was sent by the Egyptian god Horus himself, for it flew straight as an arrow to the palace of the Pharaoh at Memphis and dropped the slipper into the courtyard where the Pharaoh sat. The people who were with him screamed in fright. Pharaoh Amasis, too, was a bit shaken. Then someone picked up the slipper and handed it to him. He looked at it in wonder, for it was indeed beautifully made, and exquisitely decorated. He had a great desire to see the girl for whose foot it was made. He felt that the girl indeed must be lovely. He announced that he would make the girl his bride, whose foot fitted the slipper and who could produce the other of the pair. Let my messengers go forth to all the corners of my kingdom and look for this girl, for indeed the gods have decreed that she must be my bride, the Pharaoh declared. The messengers bowed to him and vowed not to come back until they had done as the Pharaoh asked. They then crawled backwards out of the room, for no one was allowed to turn his back to the Pharaoh, and set off to do his bidding. From Memphis, they set off towards the mouth of the Nile, asking if anyone knew of a girl who had a tiny feet and had lost a rose red slipper. They met with no success till they came to a town near the mouth of the Nile. Here, they heard of the rich Greek trader Charox and his adopted daughter Rhodophis. They heard of her beauty and his love for her. They went to the great mansion on the Nile and found Rhodophis in the garden, still feeling a little sad about the loss of her slipper. When they showed her the slipper, she jumped up in joy and put it on to show how well it fitted her. Then she asked her companion to fetch its pair. The Pharaoh's messengers were now convinced that they had found the girl the Pharaoh was seeking. They told Rhodophis, "We have come all the way from Memphis, for our great god and king, Pharaoh Amasis, bids you to come to his palace there. He would make you his bride, for he believes the god Horus had sent his eagle to him with the slipper for this very purpose." Such a command could not be ignored or disobeyed. Rhodophis was sad that she would have to leave Charox in his old age, and yet she was excited at what awaited her at Memphis. She took leave of Charox and went with the messengers to Memphis. When Pharaoh Amasis saw her, he was sure that Horus had sent her to him. He married Rhodophis at a grand ceremony, and they lived happily ever after for many years. Friends, I think this folklore emphasizes on much more than external beauty. If either the king or the girl were black-hearted, the same glass slippers would have proven to be a curse to either. But luck favored them only because they were both of pure heart and deserved each other. This folklore certainly shows that beauty is beyond skin deep. Do ponder over your thoughts. Let's meet again with the next Chandamama story. Until then, this is Ramya signing off.